Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, what would happen if your mobile phone killed you?
We are tonight's entertainment.
I would rather watch Beautician and the Beast.
People don't forget.
And here we go.
Made for movies.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Made for Movies podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Wolf. With me, as always, Eric Russo. What's up, bud?
Not too much. Got an action-packed news week to go over. Excited for this one. How you doing?
Absolutely. Pretty good, you know. Another Monday. Fun day.
Yes, sir.
I don't know if they call it that.
I don't think anyone calls it that, but now they do.
It's actually the worst day, right?
Monday?
Like, everybody hates Mondays.
Yeah, I guess that's probably true. Or Wednesday. People really just don't like days of the week.
Yeah, we're the only place in the world that works 5 days and only rests 2. It's not good. Anyway, yes, lots of news this week. Pretty cool. A lot of good stories coming out. I think we're doing a couple reviews, too.
Yeah, so we got our top 5 news stories of the week. The always fun and very interesting story today for the Wolves. Why is this happening? We are going to review the new Michael B. Jordan movie on Amazon Without Remorse, as well as look back at the original Saw. And then I think you have some weekly recommendations for the people.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so let's just start at the top. Top 5 news stories of the week. The fifth story is something that we have discussed quite frequently on this podcast. Spider-Man No Way Home. Andrew Garfield has denied that he has anything to do with the sequel. He says he is not in it, although he says he is willing to participate should he get a phone call. Never say never is what he said. Wolf, at this point with all the rumors, will you be disappointed if Toby and Andrew Garfield are not in this movie?
If I'll be disappointed, not really. I guess the fact that they are these rumors and they're actually making a public attempt to say no, I'm not in the movie. It's like, okay, how dumb do you think we are? I think this is even more obvious that he's going to be in it. Plus, didn't I see a picture of someone from Andrew Garfield's movies to be soon portrayed in the new Spider-Man movie? A little bit of Sally Fields, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, I guess she was. Was she in those ones? She was Mary Jane, wasn't she?
No,
I mean, not Mary Jane. Aunt May.
Aunt
May. That's funny. That's right. Yeah, we did see that. Yeah, so clearly there is people from his universe, so I would definitely be disappointed at this point if they can't figure out how to get the Spider-Man in there. If it ends up being Tom Holland facing off against, Electro, the worst villain ever. It doesn't make... Oh,
you got him wet? Oh, he's dead. Okay.
Yeah, I blacked that out. The only thing I remember about that movie is when what's her name breaks her neck. So that's great. Spoiler alert.
It's one of the most shocking deaths in any Spider-Man
It's great.
movie.
Yeah, it's a great
far.
scene.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's more likely that he appears than Toby, and I think that they could get away with just having the two. I have a feeling that Tobey Maguire is waiting for $1 billion to do this movie. But yeah, at this point, we shall see. I think they'll definitely be keeping it out of the marketing campaign, but at some point, maybe the final trailer will get the money shot that everyone's been waiting for. That's what they did for Civil War when they announced Spider-Man. They literally CGI'd him out of the trailers until the very last one. So, any other thoughts on this?
I just hope they keep it a secret until we're literally sitting in the theater. I think that would be so much cooler, and obviously they probably won't, but that's my last thought.
I'm with you, but if they're not in the movie and they don't it'll be so disappointing to be waiting for them to show up. It's like Clerks 2 when they're waiting for the girl to show up at the end, and it's just the horse.
That's right. And anyway, what's our fourth top story?
Yeah, so top 4 story. It's going to be Phase 4, Marvel Phase 4. They just released their entire lineup, so we will run through this, and I have some questions for you, sir. So it starts with Black Widow, July 9th of this year. Then we move to Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings on September 3rd. November 5th is The Eternals. Spider-Man No Way Home that we just talked about, December 17th of this year. So moving into next year, we have the Doctor Strange sequel on March 25th, 2022. Thor 4 will follow on May 6th. Next summer, you have Black Panther 2 on July 8th, followed by The Marvels, which is the Captain Marvel sequel, on November 11th. Followed the following year, last but not least, Guardians 3, May 5th, 2023, with one unannounced project, Fantastic Four, 2 rumored projects as well, X-Men and Blade, but they did not show pictures of those. That is quite the lineup, Wolf. What are these you most excited for, and which one do you think will be the worst?
That's a good question. I am honestly most excited for, it's actually a tie between the Thor 4 and the Eternals. It's kind of like we were talking about Shang-Chi. I don't know much about the Eternals either, but any kind of group is kind of cool to me because it's just more action. And, of course, it brings back Richard Madden, Rob Stark. I haven't really seen him in anything good since that, except for Ibiza. If you haven't seen that, that's on Netflix. A little random shout out there. The one I think that will be the worst is Fantastic Four because they've never proven to me they can make a good one yet. So until that happens, game on, brother. But I'll go see it. But yeah, I think it's a pretty cool lineup. We're waiting a long time to see these, but I think the payoff's going to be good because they've delivered continuously for years. So
yeah, I will say good choices. This is a very strong lineup. I don't think any of these movies will be bad. As far as previous lineups, there's always been a couple movies where you're like, but this is, I mean, they're A-list movies. I mean, Guardians and Black Panther are going to be monstrous. Thor 4 is going to make $1 billion.
Right.
I'm actually probably most intrigued by Fantastic Four for the reasons that you said. They just never have been able to do it. I also think Doctor Doom is one of the best Marvel villains, so I'm really excited. I'd be actually happy if they brought back the guy from Nip Tuck. I love that guy.
That guy is just, you can tell something about him. Like, he can get any lady he wants, without even trying.
For sure. For as far as the one I'm least excited about, I have to say it's the Marvels, only for the reason that I don't really like Captain Marvel, not the character, but the movie. It was set in the past, though, so it's very possible a movie set in present day will be much more entertaining. It just so far has not been my cup of tea, but it has potential, especially tying in 2 TV series to it could intrigue me a little bit more, but have to wait and see a trailer on that one.
Yeah.
But let's move on. Third story, top 3. Quiet Place 2 just dropped its final trailer and has moved its release date up from Labor Day weekend to Memorial Day weekend. It now comes out May 26th. Wolf, did you get to check out this trailer, and are you excited for the return to the Quiet Place universe?
Yes, I did catch the trailer and am very excited because this is more my line of kind of thriller/horror movie. It's not quite as horror movies go these days, but it's something that is palatable to me at the very least. And the trailer looks good. I hope they haven't spoiled too much of the movie, but I didn't see before I saw John Krasinski in this one. I hadn't seen him prior, so they're obviously going back and forth between a couple timelines, which should be cool, and I think the movie will be as good as the first. I hope it is anyway.
Yeah, so this one does have Cillian Murphy as the male lead in the role with the kids and Emily Blunt returning. I think it looks great. I do expect really good things. It'll be interesting because I think Krasinski wrote this one. He did not write the first one. The first one was actually originally written with the intent to move it into the Cloverfield universe, which you can definitely see some connections between the monsters in the 2 movies for sure, having a similar design. But now Krasinski has kind of made this his own, so I expect it to honestly be better than the first one, especially with all the rules and all the stuff kind of out of the way. They can just focus on the tension. It's so funny, man. I can never figure out like what horror movies you like, because like this is like a scary movie. Like as far as scary movies go, it's pretty scary. Especially, I remember when I saw it in the theater, like it was a pretty good theater experience. So I do want to get you with like a psychiatrist so we can figure out which ones you like and which ones you don't.
It's funny you say Cloverfield because I hated Cloverfield. Like that one was too scary, and I think this one was like manageable, a little bit more manageable, because you knew if it was quiet, there wasn't going to be any monsters. So I wasn't worried during the quiet times, whereas other movies, I'm worried in the quiet times about being scared out of my seat, basically. So yeah, it's got its balance in it.
It's funny you bring that up too about the quiet. So I watched the first like 30 seconds of the trailer and then I turned it off because I already know I want to see it. I'm all in. It comes out in a few weeks. I just love the use of sound that he does in the first one and even in this trailer. Like he's walking through the store, the bell rings, like you could hear every little single sound is perfect. And I just look forward to them continuing that. That was my favorite part of the first movie, is just the small details paid attention to. The sound mixing in the movie was stellar. So let's move into the top 2 news stories of the week. Number 2 is dealing with Superman. The J.J. Abrams produced Superman project is seeking out a black director and black actor to take on the role of Superman. Wolf, do you expect this Superman movie to be any good, and who would you like to see play Superman? And if you have any directors in mind.
Yeah, I would certainly say I think it can be good. J.J. Abrams has made bad movies, but he's also made good ones and good shows. I would love to see a good new Superman because, honestly, I do like Man of Steel, but it's not very good. I just kind of liked that Superman was back. It was way better than Brandon Routh's Superman Returns, which was god-awful. But yeah, since Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, I really haven't been entertained with a Superman project. So I hope they can make it better than some of the more disastrous Snyder cuts. Honestly, I think I've heard some speculation that Michael B. Jordan, speaking of a movie we're about to talk about, that would be a great Superman. I think he's young, he's fit, obviously, so he could fall into the role pretty easily. For some reason, I thought Idris Elba, but then I remembered he's like a million years old, so that probably wouldn't work too well unless it's in the future. But I think as far as directors, I think Ryan Coogler certainly would be a good shot because he has experience in superheroes and kind of knows how that universe goes. So that's kind of the first one that comes to mind. But who wouldn't like to see like a Spike Lee Superman? I think that would be pretty damn interesting.
Yeah, I'm excited for this project. J.J. Abrams is probably better suited in this producer role. I think he could put a good project together. It shouldn't be too hard to find talent. There's a ton of people that could fulfill this role. I am disappointed that it's not going to be Henry Cavill continuing. I think that he got a really bad deal playing Superman. I think he could have been a fantastic Superman given a better director, a better story. And I just think that he still probably wants to play the role, so why not have a new director come in and reinvent versus just, at the end of the day, it just seems like that they're doing Black Superman just to do a Black Superman, which, like, if it makes sense for the story, I'm all about it. Like I said, like Ryan Coogler directing a Superman movie with Michael B. Jordan starring would be amazing.
It would be 100% a hit without question.
Yeah, and it would be really, really good. My issue, so I keep seeing the Michael B. Jordan stuff too. He's denied it, that he's like, I'm just going to be a watcher. I hope it's actually someone just new. Like, I didn't know who Henry Cavill was before Superman. I didn't know who Daniel Craig was before James Bond. Like, can't we go with a new actor, someone that's super talented, that this is the role that they become famous for? I feel like Michael B. Jordan's just become the name that people say for every black role in Hollywood now when there's, like, casting that could happen. Like, it's going to be Michael B. Jordan. Like, it's almost insulting to all the other actors that could potentially play this, upcoming role. Even the guy, what's his name, from Star Wars, like, he's a really good actor. Like, he's starting to do better.
John Boyega.
Yeah, John Boyega. So there's so many people out there. I hope it's a relatively unknown director and actor. That's what I'm rooting for. But if it's going to be someone famous, of course, the combination of Coogler and Michael B. Jordan is, like, can't miss. So
right,
whatever happens, I think it'll be good. And it can't be any worse than what they did with the Snyder stuff. So
that's right.
Yeah. Moving on to the top story of the week, Stranger Things Season 4 just dropped its first teaser trailer. Wolf, how do you feel about Stranger Things coming back? Do you think the kids are getting too old? Are you excited?
Yeah, this was an interesting teaser, to say the least. I am a Stranger Things fan. Again, another thing kind of in a horror-ish genre that I can take. The most fascinating character to me is 11, and the trailer is certainly looking back towards 11's development, but we're also seeing a lot more than one kid with potential to have superpowers. So it looks like you can infer a lot that there might not be such and such a monster in this one, maybe. So that they might be kind of shifting gears there. But I'm definitely excited for this to be coming back. But to answer your other question, absolutely, they are getting much too old, much too quickly, growing up too fast because they're still only in like 9th grade, and I think they're taller than my dad at this point. So kind of interesting to see. But yeah, how about you? I know you're a big ST fan.
Yeah, I am definitely a big fan. Actually rewatching this as we speak, just turned off. I'm like halfway through season 2. Fantastic show, one of my favorite shows ever. I'm okay with them aging just for the fact that it was never really a kid's show to me. So now I'm assuming that they will do a little bit of a time jump. The kids are like 17, 18 years old. So definitely hope that they're saying that they're in high school and not saying it's the next year. But yeah, I think this show, the great thing about it, I think there's a lot of potential to do maybe 1 or 2 more seasons with them in high school. You wrap up the show, and then who's to say they can't come back in 10 or 15 years with them as adults, like it messed up so poorly, and have them as adults with their kids, and, as the final battle, which I do think is very possible that down the road we will get some sort of Stranger Things final season, which would be super awesome. But I'm really looking forward to it. Season 3 was my favorite. I'm very intrigued where they're going to go with the story. That's the coolest thing about Stranger Things. I feel like every year it's ended, I'm just like, I don't know how they're going to continue. It seems like it's done. Well, obviously season 1, not so much. But, yeah, I really have no idea. The story could go in so many different directions. I know you're saying no monsters. I'm sure they will have something cooked up as far as monsters go. But, yeah, maybe it'll get away from that a little. And then season 5 will kind of finish it off for sure. But
Absolutely.
Should we move on?
I don't think I'm mentally prepared for the why this is happening this week, but let's just get into it.
Didn't you hear?
Let's just go.
It's happening because studios like to make money.
That's the only reason, I bet.
That is the only reason for everything. But let's go into this. The Wolf's Why Is This Happening news story. This one hits home. Bloodshot wound to the chest for Wolf. Joker 2, the sequel to the infamous Joker movie that came out with Joaquin Phoenix, is getting a direct sequel. We don't know when. We have to assume that he is returning. There is no casting information, but I highly doubt he is not. Wolf, why is this happening?
This is like the worst possible news. I'm at a really low point in my life. I'm just kidding. But this put me in a really low point in my life. Joker 2. Todd Phillips, Joaquin Phoenix, one of the most overhyped, overrated movies in the history of cinema. I absolutely lampooned this on a previous edition of this podcast. Little known historical fact. In 2019, we went hard on this after a very disappointing theater experience where basically inferred that Joker was somehow related to the Batman and Thomas Wayne is a bad guy, as one of the nicest men in the history of comics and one of the most tragic stories of death in the history of comics and cinema. I just hope this project never takes off. It is a 100% cash grab, and Warner Brothers just couldn't care less because some people really like this and how it's portraying society is this and that. It's just like, get out of here, dude. Why is this happening?
Yeah.
All right, rant's over. My blood pressure's through the roof. I gotta get out. I gotta get off.
Yeah, I don't have much to say on this topic. We have discussed this very much between us. My one hope when they made this movie, and what it was explained anyways at the time, was that they would never make a sequel. The reason that Joaquin Phoenix never did any superhero movies is because he didn't want to do sequels, because sequels are commercial and he is artistic and, he doesn't believe in that sort of stuff. But it turns out no one's ever offered him $50 million before. So I guess...
Wait, he didn't get that for her?
I guess, as everyone says, Ted DiBiase from WWF, everyone has a price, right? But
I thought the only thing that's said on WWF is, "Oh my God, he broke him in half."
Yeah, that was also said.
Is that Jim Ross?
Was Jim
Shout
Ross.
out to Jim Ross.
Jim
Love
Ross.
you, bro.
Yep. But yeah, I am not excited about this. I don't like the first one. For everyone out there that does, I get it. go watch Taxi Driver and King of Comedy and tell me it's an original movie. But I get it. It was smart. They took a really good idea. They basically remade Taxi Driver and inserted the Joker. It was very smart, and if they didn't do it, no one would have went to see it as just a regular Joaquin clown movie. But in my opinion, I would have enjoyed it more if it was not attached to the DC universe. I just think it was a big mistake with the decisions that they made, and too many eye rolls for me. We don't have to spend too much time. I'm sure at some point we will Hall of Shame induct this. If Joker 2 ever comes out, that's when we'll do it. Until then, we'll keep that thing buried.
Consider it done. Count me in.
Sweet. All right, well, let's move on to an actual review. We'll go into our official Made for Movies review of Without Remorse.
Yes, let us dive right into Tom Clancy's Without Remorse 2021 release on Amazon Prime, directed by Stefano Sollima, produced by Michael B. Jordan, Kiva Goldsman, Josh Applebaum, and Andre Nemec. Russo, what were your expectations going in to Without Remorse?
0. I do like the Rainbow Six video games, and I've seen a couple Tom Clancy projects throughout the years, and I have to say, not a big fan of the movies. I know that they are apparently really good books, and like I said, there's some very good video games that I've played over the years that this movie was nothing like, even though it is based off the Rainbow Six first novel. But yeah, just no expectations. I like Michael B. Jordan. I've never not been a fan of his. Like, dating back to Chronicle, first movie I ever saw him in, he's always electrifying on screen, and even in bad movies, not that this is one, even in bad movies, he is nothing else entertaining. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got. How about you?
Yeah, I just thought, okay, here we go. Here's another kind of shoot-'em-up movie. I wonder what universe this will be in, who the main character will be. We find out is John Kelly, who then gets another name later, but we won't talk about that until then. But yeah, just another R-rated 140 or an hour and 49 minutes long movie, and I just said eye roll at that moment, because most action movies, I think, if they stick to an hour and a half, that'll be able to hold people's interests, and I think they could have done that, but I'm getting a little bit too much into it at this point. What did you think of the movie in general?
General thoughts on this movie. I am not a fan of it. It's one of the most generic action movies I've ever seen. There is a couple standout scenes that we will get into that were really cool. Everything else, this movie I blame most of it on the director or the cinematographer. The movie doesn't know how to show tension. Like, a lot of the scenes, like, they should have this crazy amount of tension, like the stakes are pretty high for what's happening, but I just didn't really care what was going on, especially early on. They don't really do a great job of introing the characters, like the opening scene, just a bunch of people shooting, don't really, like, you don't know what's going on. The movie's incredibly dark, too, and in the sense I can't see anything happening in a lot of the action scenes, and I get it, going for realistic or whatnot, but I've seen many movies where it's set in the dark, and John Wick comes to mind, like the first raid of his house in the first movie. It's pitch black, but the way they light it is so the audience can see, which I always appreciate because I'm in the audience and I want to see the action. But
I thought it's funny, any movie where they have glow in the dark, or what are they called?
Night vision.
Night vision goggles on their helmets, and they don't use them
for
when
the
it's
audience,
dark.
yeah.
And now they're not showing them for the audience because they're not using them. So it kind of makes sense. But I'm like, I think a Navy SEAL might want to be able to see in this particular circumstance. So maybe you should just do that. But yeah, that's a good point. It was pretty dark.
Yeah, but overall, I think it's a very skippable movie. If you are a diehard Michael B. Jordan fan, you will find some good acting from him for sure. But aside from a couple really good acted scenes, he's not really given much to work with here, and he seems disinterested at certain parts of the movie for sure. But how about you? General thoughts?
Yeah, I thought I tend to agree with you. This is a very skippable movie. For some reason, it is the highest streamed movie on Amazon Prime currently. I think that's just because people are really looking for anything to fill their evenings. But Michael B. Jordan, as good as he did in his performance, that you can't fix bad dialogue, and some of his lines and his dialogue, he just kind of seems like an uninterested, unemotional guy when he is very emotional. So again, when he's angry, and you can tell, and that part is good. But if he's like, I don't know why it takes 3 times to explain why you're doing this. It's like, we did see that happen to you. Yeah. So he kind of goes into these long, boring speeches about it, which again adds to the time of the movie when it could have been accomplished with 1 instead of 4 or 5 scenes. Again, 1 or 2 good standout scenes as far as the action. Otherwise, pretty slow. Yeah. And again, not well shot. So what do you say we get into our official review before we get into our standout scenes?
Sure. I will let you go first there, sir.
Absolutely. I'll be pretty rough on this one. I'm going to give it a 2 out of 10. It actually comes in below Mortal Kombat for me. I thought that was a little bit more entertaining as far as the action. So with only a couple of good action scenes in this one, it just doesn't hold up. And like you said, just skip it if you don't need to. But if you really are looking for, some shoot 'em up, just background noise, go for it.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting comparison. This is definitely better made than Mortal Kombat. It's better put together with better acting. But I could see how someone could say that Mortal Kombat's more interesting and more entertaining. Just, one, you like the video games, and they actually do a pretty good job of using those characters, where this, it's based off a video game, but there's really no connection to this character going in, which is not necessarily the movie's fault, but I will give it a 4 out of 10. Again, there are some good parts to it, but at the end of the day, a 4, a 5, like these movies are incredibly mediocre to the point where it's not worth your time. Again, if you like Michael Jordan, I would say if you love Michael B. Jordan, not Michael Jordan.
I hope you love Michael Jordan.
Yeah,
the Michael Jordan.
If you love Michael Jordan, go see Space Jam. But but yeah, I will say that's pretty much all there is in this. I was very bored for about an hour of the hour 40. A couple standout scenes, but let's just dive into spoilers. Anything stand out to you in this movie, good or bad? We usually do our deep dive. Me and Wolf don't want to talk about this movie for 45 minutes, so we're not going to do that. But right. Wolf, let me know what you got.
Yeah, I did give it 1 extra point. It was going to be a 1 out of 10 because I always am fascinated by what to do if I go to prison. And this movie, one of the scenes, Michael B. Jordan does get caught and go to jail for literally setting someone on fire, which was another kind of decent part. But he knows that he's about to start almost a riot within his own cell. So he plugs up his sink and lets the water run over. And then we see later the riot squad kind of coming in with gas cans. And if they throw the gas can in on the ground, it's going to go out because there's water on there. So now I know if I'm ever in prison and I'm going to start a riot fighting with guards, I'm going to make sure my sink is overflowing so that they can't gas me. So 1 standout scene. Good fight within the jail. Unfortunately, it's like for no reason because literally 5 seconds later he's released from jail because the Secretary of Defense just says, "No, let him out. Yeah. He's an American
What
hero.
were they going to do to him? like had he not fought? I don't understand. Like they came in there so aggressively. Why didn't
literally nothing would have happened whatsoever. And then one other final scene. I think I'm guessing you would agree with me that this is the best scene when he meets the Arnold Palmer guy from a fantastic comedy called The Other Guys. Wee-oo, 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 Arnie Palmy alert. That guy is actually one of the main villains in Without Remorse. He does a pretty good job. He has about 3 lines of dialogue, and then he blows himself up. But Michael B. Jordan getting from that location and escaping via the roof and then via getting down to the ground again and driving away, that's probably the best action scene in my mind.
I literally hated that part of the movie. So
darn it.
Because the reason I hate it, in the beginning, 1, speaking of lack of tension, when they shoot his wife, it's so poorly shot that I actually thought that he moved her, because they show you her getting shot from the hallway is the camera, so you don't see her, and it looks like there's just a stack of pillows. There's no blood. There's literally no sense of, okay, she's dead. Until he gets there. And I'm like, I don't know if they intentionally did that. It's very poorly done. But he gets shot 3 times in his house, and he is literally paralyzed from getting shot 3 times. At the end of the movie, I don't know what happened. I don't know if he got cast in Superman and like they just decided that you're a Superman now. He gets shot like 17 times. He gets blown up by a grenade. He falls down 4 flights of stairs. Like, he's getting freaking destroyed, taking on 40 people. It was so unbelievable to take him from this normal guy. I hate when movies do that. Like, you lose me so quick.
It's just not realistic. It's very like it's like having infinite bullets in your gun. Like you see these guys never change their clips or whatever.
Yeah,
it's like
I hate to keep comparing it to things, but when you watch those John Wick long extended action sequences, even though they're maybe not realistic, they're shot with a realistic way where they've established who this character is, and you're like, oh yeah, like this guy could totally do that. Everything is set up. There's not infinite ammo. Everything has stakes. Every person he kills, you feel. Whereas this just felt like a video game, which it's based off of, very similar to Mortal Kombat. I felt like I was watching someone else play a video game, and I just did not like it. I'm kind of done talking about this movie. I have a bunch of other notes here I took. Oh, so the one last note I will say is Guy Pearce. When he walked onto the camera, his face looks like a catcher's mitt.
I am the Mandarin.
Yeah, dude. How many movies is he the secret bad guy in? I was watching it with a buddy, and we both said, "Yeah, he's the bad guy." 5 minutes into the movies,
100%.
Because he's always the bad guy. Prometheus, Iron Man 3. Like it's getting old, man. You have to stop. Be good. Do some good in your life.
No, like
he was he was the bad guy in Memento.
Yeah, no, like you could literally prove that proves that literally you could be typecast as absolutely anything, and he is the bad guy in power of some or rich or in some capacity. It's just hilarious.
Oh, and I did have one last note. So towards the end of the movie, when he drives the car into the water and they're drowning, he's drowning with Guy Pearce. He starts to die, and he has like a vision of his wife, and his wife is standing in fire. She's standing in a flame. Like there's flames and she's inside the flames. Last time I checked, you don't pass through fire to get to heaven. I think his wife went to hell. So,
that's a very fabulous joke from the movie Funny People. Everyone,
and just
please go check it out.
A real fact. Like, why was she standing in fire?
It's really like not good for her soul.
Yeah,
I would say that she's standing in fire at the very moment she's gone.
And then
not good.
There's one other flashback with her where she's laying in the woods, and then a creature or something sucks her out of the woods, and she goes flying away on the ground. I'm done with this movie. Let's move on.
Let's move on. It is an official 3 out of 10 from our Made for Movies review system. On to the movie 2004 Saw. Talk about it, my friend.
Yeah, so we decided, typically what we've been doing recently is on this day in history, remembering. So last week we did Spider-Man on its anniversary. Saw came out in October of 2004, so not quite its anniversary, but the reason we decided to talk about it a little bit is because this Friday is the release of Spiral from the Book of Saw, the 9th film in the series. So we wanted to break it down for you guys. This series is a very important one to me. While I acknowledge that some of the movies are pretty bad, overall, I really do enjoy just the story that it tells, that it's a connected universe, and it's done in a way where there's actual continuity and stakes. So, Wolf, are you a fan of the Saw series, and are you excited for the new movie?
So I am a fan of this particular Saw movie, and I have seen Saw 2 before. I wouldn't say I'm a fan. I am fairly excited for a movie starring Chris Rock because I'm a huge fan of his, both his stand-up comedy and a few of his movies. I wouldn't say all are as good. He kind of hit his Adam Sandler year 2000 stage, like on his second movie, so he didn't really have that many good ones before. But yeah, I've already got my tickets ready to go see Saw, or the Spiral, I should say. So looking back at Saw in 2004, it was, of course, directed by James Wan, someone we've talked about a lot on this podcast as well, and written by one of the stars of it, Lee Wanell, as well as written by Wan. I didn't know that young fella who was in the Saw movie was actually the writer until I rewatched. So pretty cool that was the case, and he did a very good job portraying his character. So yeah, Saw is one of the good ones for me. I do like it, and I was surprised by the end.
Yeah, so Lee won out. They're both from Australia, so that he has a very heavy Australian accent, which is really funny because in the movie he has a U.S. accent. So one of the reasons I always hold this series in such, it's so close to my heart is I just like a good success story in the movie industry. This movie, they originally shot a short film with their own money, and that's how they sold the movie to get a budget to do the entire film. And up until a couple months before it's released, it was planned to go direct to DVD or direct to video. So it had everything working against it, and the fact that it was a pretty big success when it first came out, but really from the second one on, it dominated the box office year after year after year until Paranormal Activity came around. But yeah, the first movie. So I have actually rewatched all of the Saw movies, and we will be doing a cross episode with another podcast where we deep dive all the films. We'll be ranking them. So I won't go too much into my review of Saw. I do like it. Believe it or not, rewatching it, it's one of my least favorite movies in the series.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on the bottom half. There is a couple that are truly terrible films that it's in no comparison. I just think it hasn't aged well. There's a lot of things in it that the way it's cut together, you could tell that they just didn't have a budget. So again, I admire so much in it. I don't know how much they had to pay Danny Glover, but I assume that he took up a good amount of that budget, and Carrie Ells too. But yeah, it's a good movie. I'm more intrigued what it sets up than what the movie is. There's a lot of issues I have with it that I'll get into, but overall, it's got one of my favorite endings ever in any movie. It's got the ultimate twist ending, and it does what a lot of movie franchises have tried to do in the modern era, which is establish a new big killer in the movies. Like, as far as I know, Jigsaw is the only 2000 era serial killer to
like a Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees, like that type of
Chucky, Leatherface.
Chucky,
Yeah, so I mean he's one of the more famous ones now, and that just doesn't happen anymore. You don't really see these killers getting more than one or two movies, so it's pretty cool to see them create this new, legacy character that pretty much everyone knows, that pig mask on Halloween or something about Saul, even if they haven't seen it. So I'm really excited to do a deep dive on the whole franchise. So if you guys have not seen the movies, they're all available actually on HBO Max. So we're going to be doing that episode. We'll have our review up for Saul, the new one, in 2 weeks. So definitely go see it this Friday or, the following week. And then I think the week or two after is when we'll do that whole series retrospective on all 9 films. So really looking forward to that. But not much else. Let's move on to weekly recommendations.
Absolutely. I have 2. Both come from the world of television. The first, which is also another piece of news, based on the success of season 1 of Invincible, available on Amazon Prime. It's an animated series about superheroes in modern times. Fairly cool concept. I've really enjoyed it. I didn't think I was going to like it after the first episode, but then they did a post-credit scene that got me completely hooked, and I finished the whole thing very quickly. Invincible has been renewed for not only 1 more season, but for 2 more seasons. So looking forward to some of that. Stars J.K. Simmons and Steven Yeun, who was just recently nominated for an Academy Award. Both play fantastic roles, and there's a lot of other kind of good cameo performances, being that it's an animated series, including Seth Rogen playing a very minor character, but of course awesome. So yeah, definitely check out Invincible. My other one actually comes from the world of HBO Max, a short documentary series. It might go into more seasons, but it's called Wall Street, talking about, yes, you're right, Mark Wahlberg, who is one of my favorite actors of all time and one of the funniest guys from Boston you'll ever know. And he does a kind of quick documentary series through his own production company, which actually produced the documentary McMillions, which you find out about in the actual this doc. And just kind of how he's kind of branching out and doing more businesses and investing his money in certain ways and really trying to help out young business owners and entrepreneurs. So if nothing else, they have some good special guests who come on there to talk about business. And it's a kind of a cool show. And, of course, to follow him around, he's pretty funny. So we'll check out Wall Street and HBO Max as well.
Good stuff. Yeah, so Invincible, I watched the first few episodes. I did like it. It just didn't really hook me in, so at some point I definitely will finish it. I heard it had a great finale. One of the main reasons I was interested in it was recommended to us by our buddies over at the Movie Mania podcast, but also the writer of the comic is Robert Kirkman, who wrote the Walking Dead graphic novel.
Wow.
So, I mean, that guy... That's 2 for 2 right there as far as that's crazy, right?
That's
like
literally knocking it out of the park, especially that they're doing seasons 2 and 3. Like,
yeah.
Very rarely does it get renewed that far out. So very cool.
Yeah, I'm always just more of a fan of live action, especially for long form TV series and stuff like this. I get that the show is like uber violent, so it wouldn't really translate to live action. But I think that if this is successful, who's to say 10 years, 20 years down the road, I'm sure this will become a property. And when you have a property, when you have IP, you will make it and make it and make it and remake it and make it some more and then make it again.
And then make it again. Because, no, we're also getting another Superman. So
we're going
to make it again and again.
I can't wait till they'll make a female Superman movie called Superwoman. That'll be
I'll be the first in line.
They already have the TV series, too. So
that's
should
true.
be good. But yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. So typically this is where we would do our comments from you guys. Because we skipped this past Thursday's episode, we didn't really talk about anything as far as reviews went last week. So moving forward for this upcoming week, if you guys have any comments related to anything, please send them to us via message, or you can email us at madeformoviespodcast@gmail.com. Send us your questions. We'll go through them all on next week's episode, specifically related to Spiral or Without Remorse. But that's all I got.
Absolutely. And guys, thanks for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode with Made for Movies, the podcast. Take it easy, buddy.
Bye.
Made for Movies.